gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Is this thing on? Welcome everybody to the Paranormal Portal. This is our Night Terrors. It's the last show before the 2 days off, so hope you guys are all ready to rock and roll and dive into this conundrum of weirdness and wonderment as we tread carefully through the corridors of the Paranormal Portal. Hope you guys are doing great, and thank you so much for being here with me. As always, it's a rare pleasure to do these shows, and it's even a greater pleasure to see you guys keep showing up to listen in and watch. That's really awesome. I really do appreciate it. As often as I say that, I don't know how to say it any more sincere than that. I mean, it is truly an honor, and I do love doing these shows, and I always hope that I give you the best show possible because it's important. And likewise, you know, if any of you ever are watching the show and you think, oh, you know what would be kind of cool is if this happened or something else happened, or, you know, if you did stop doing this and did this instead, you know, that kind of stuff. Just feel free to email me your suggestions. I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to constructive criticism. I'm just not open to creepy criticism. So, you know, I don't like when people criticize, you know, with the full force of their angst. You know, that's not helpful at all. And it usually raises my ire as well. So I'm not really engaged in the conversation anymore. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think. And if you have ideas for the shows, things you'd like to see more of, things you'd like to see less of, that would be really cool. You guys are the consumers. So I want you to be getting the shows you want to see. And by all means, let me know what you think. And if I get a lot of the same suggestions, then by all means, that sounds like I'll be on to something that needs to change. So I just want to throw that out there because I know that at the end of all the shows, oh, I love the show. It's great. It's wonderful. And I hope that that's true. But at the same time, I cannot improve the show based on, just positive feedback. It's like, if there's something that you want to see changed or you'd like to see done a little differently, let me know. And at least we can have a dialogue about it. So just throwing that out there because you guys are the people that I most want to be pleased with the show. So anyway, this is our Night Terrors, and tonight we're doing strange phenomena. And we're going to go into some black-eyed kids stuff, and we're going to do a Brent Swanser article dealing with some strange cryptid reports that have come in. And they're kind of, I have not heard of this before I stumbled onto this article. And it's very interesting. And it has to do with hyenas in America. And I was like, what? So apparently people are seeing those as well. So we're going to dive into an article from Brent Swanser. I think we'll do that first. And then we'll close the show, with some black-eyed kids encounters and just go from there. We'll see where we end up. And then, of course, we got the trail cam terrors at the end of our journey tonight, and we'll see what we can unpack there. So as it goes, the phone number for the show, as always, will be live and active, and you can call in at 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Or just look above my head if you forget. It's right there on your screens. For those of you on YouTube, it's just everybody. We're only on YouTube tonight, so I'm used to talking to the network as well from the last 2 nights. But that's how you can get in touch with me on the show and have a discussion if you'd like about something that we're discussing, or if you have a paranormal encounter of your own that you'd like to bring up, I'd love to hear about it. So, all right, I don't think I got anything else to open the show with, so I guess we are ready to get going. So I hope you're ready, because it's time for bed. All right, that makes it official, folks. We are now live and underway here on the Paranormal Portal, Night Terrors, and we're going to dive into some stuff here. But yeah, this is a report that kind of blew me away a little bit. So yeah, you heard it right. Bed and hyenas. Yeah, that's quite a complimentary deal there, huh, Titan? What more could you want? Some bed and hyenas to start the evening. But anyway, I hope you all are kicking back, and if it's dark where you are or darker, it's still pretty daylight outside here. It's like, wow, I'm just remembering it was like 4:00 and everything was dark in the winter. And now it's like, wow, it's already 7 and it's still broad daylight out. This is wonderful. All right. Anyway, enough of me, but we're going to get into these, this article from Brent Swanser. And again, this is coming from mysteriousuniverse.org. Now, I know I always sing his accolades, but I can't stress it enough. This guy is and I'm a fan of several paranormal writers that write about paranormal phenomenon, and we visit several sites regularly on the show that I'm a fan of as well. I think they all do wonderful jobs, but I think my sincere favorite has got to be Brent Swanser, because of the depth and tenacity and the range of his research is just so profound. And if you look at his whole list of articles, it really covers the whole paranormal spectrum and the Fortean spectrum, and even some unsolved mystery stuff he's writing about as well. The guy is just a force of nature. So his articles are featured on mysteriousuniverse.org. So if you get a chance, definitely check out that site as well, because not only is he a writer over there, Nick Redfern's a writer, Paul Seberg, and several other people write. There's literally 1,000 or more articles on that site of all kinds of strange phenomena, so dealing with Fortean topics. So definitely check out mysteriousuniverse.org. And if you want to catch up with Brent Swanser personally, like you have a chance to say hello and get to know him, and check him out on Facebook. He is on Facebook. His group is called Dark League Paranormal. And I'm over there all the time and checking out things that they're talking about or discussing. It's really a fascinating group, so check it out. All right, so here's the article in question for tonight, the first article, or the first part of the show tonight. And this is the mysterious hyena monsters in North America. And I'd never heard of this before. I don't think I'd heard about it before. At least it doesn't sound familiar, but sometimes I don't know. I'm getting older, so I can forget things now. Whereas before I would never have admitted it, but now I've come to realize I forget more than I remember, I think. But I might have forgotten that too. All right, yeah, let's do it. I got to give myself that one. That was lame. All right, there are all manner of creatures skirting out past the fringes of what we know, inhabiting a realm that we cannot at this time fully understand. One of these types of mystery animals are strange beasts akin to hyenas that stalk the landscape of North America. Very unusual, since these creatures are in no way native to these lands. Although quite rare as things go, there have been occasional sightings of something in the wilds of North America that seems to be keeping along the lines of something very hyena-like in nature. Indeed, such a creature plays a role in the lore and legends of the Lowe, is that Iowa Indians or Lowe? I don't know if that's, I think it must be Iowa, because it's a noun, right? It should be capitalized. So it must be Iowa Indians of the Great Plains of the American West. The creature they call the Shunka Warakan, which means in their language carries off dogs. and which is known by various other local names, is a brutish, dark-furred beast with a sloping back, massive jaws, long front legs compared to the rear, and looking very much like what we today would know as a hyena. The creatures were said to be extremely vicious and to be avoided at all costs, and the tribes of the region gave them a large berth. The Shunka was apparently often sighted by both native tribes and early white settlers, and heavy set, with a build somewhat reminiscent of a cross between a wolf and a hyena, and with a black to dark red fur. Some settlers claim to have even shot and mounted specimens of these beasts, and there is at least one mysterious mounted specimen that was allegedly shot in Montana in 1886 by an Israeli Amon Hutchins. The specimen was acquired by a local taxidermist named Joseph Sherwood and stuffed and displayed at the general store in Idaho, where it was labeled ringodosis. Okay, sorry. There's a alleged photo of it. Wow. Huh. That's creepy. It really does kind of have a hyena-like features, though, doesn't it? Look at that sloping back. Oof. Although this mount has never been formally examined in any great depth, and even went missing for a while, some cryptozoologists, notably the renowned Loren Coleman, have suggested that it is indeed physical evidence of the legendary Shunka. As recently as 2006, there was a strange-looking reddish-yellow wolf that was shot in Garfield County, Montana, after apparently going on a killing spree slaughtering around 120 sheep. While there was some speculation in cryptozoological circles that it could be an actual specimen of Shunka, the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Department eventually came to the conclusion that it was merely an aberrant individual of wolf. Sightings of such large hyena-like beasts in North America have been made far and wide. An early report dug up by cryptozoologist Jerome Clark comes from August 3rd, 1910 article of the Fort Wayne Weekly Sentinel, Fort Wayne, Indiana. The sighting apparently happened at Delphos in Kansas, and the report says, "Considerable excitement was created here yesterday when Isaac Good, who lives on the Noah Miller farm in Marion Township, about a mile east of Delphos, came into town and reported that he had seen in the Pullman Woods near the W.C. Baxter farm between 8 and 9 a.m. a strange-looking wild animal that had all of the appearance of being a hyena. Mr. Good first saw the animal in the woods. It was sitting back on its haunches and licking its front paws, much the same manner as a cat or dog would. Mr. Good was quite near the animal before he saw it, or before it saw him, and after seeing him for a few moments, Mr. Good said the animal ran rapidly toward a cornfield and disappeared. His description of the strange beast left no doubt that it was a wild animal and that it was a hyena. Mr. Good remained about the vicinity for some time, hoping to get another glimpse of the animal, but he was unable to do so. He was on his way to Delphos to work, but after seeing the strange intruder in the woods, he gave up the idea of work for the day and came to Delphos and endeavored to organize a number of armed men to procure dogs to chase the animal down. No reports had previously been heard concerning such an animal being seen in this part of the country, but Mr. Good's word is not doubted. The animal may have escaped from a circus. Another sighting of a possible Shunka was reported in Colorado Parks and Wildlife in 2019, in which a witness claims to have seen a large hyena pass in front of him at Garden of the Gods Trading Post in Colorado Springs, Colorado. In this case, it was found that there was no missing hyenas at the nearby Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, and authorities just sort of shrugged it off as a misidentification of a coyote, bobcat, or other locally known animal. Other notable sightings of the beast around. In 1991, several witnesses claimed to have seen a hyena roaming about the Alberta Wildlife Park near Legal, Alberta, Canada, and in 1995, others were spotted in Idaho, Montana, and more sightings have occurred in these areas in later years as well, such as a hyena spotted roaming about killing livestock in Montana in 2005, and at least 4 sightings of a hyena-like creature in 2015 and 2017. Yikes. Good to meet you. Such sightings seem to be some sightings seem to range quite wildly. There was a fairly recent spate of sightings in 2004 in which a large hyena-like animal was reported as prowling about, killing dogs in rural Maine. This creature was sighted by dozens of witnesses, including policemen, all of whom said it looked just like a hyena. Also quite recent is a sighting reported to Phantoms and Monsters of a witness who claims to have seen a hyena-like creature in 2010 in the vicinity of the Adirondack Park in the southern Adirondacks of New York. The witness says, "My wife and I saw what can only be described as a hyena chasing several deer across the road. The animal literally stopped dead in front of the car, staring back at us for 10 seconds before it moved off. I've been to the woods my whole life and raised with a gun since childhood and spent my summers on Lake Champlain. I've hunted, fished, instructed archery and rifle range, hiked, coon hunted at night, owned horses, and ridden horseback through the wilderness, and presently live with all kinds of wildlife on my lakefront creekside property. Well, I thought I'd seen it all, but I have no idea what this was, other than to say it was a hyena. Oof. It was large. Oh, God, hold on. It was very large, 150 to 175 pounds. Long bushy tail, brindle, wiry, spotted, brown and black, and gray coat with a powerful predator build. Thick lower jaw, rounded diamond-shaped triangular head, with rounded ears sitting high on the head, and what appeared to be a mane running down the back. Yeah, that really does sound just like a hyena. Originating on the neck, its hind legs were noticeably shorter than the front and much thicker, more powerfully muscled than the front, so that animal sloped down in the powerful rear. I've seen countless hyenas on Discovery and National Geographic and Wild Kingdom as a kid, and there is no other option than this strongly resembled a spotted hyena. Then a few days later, we saw it again, doing the same thing. There is no doubt this was not a coyote, a wolf hybrid, or a coy dog. This was a hyena. My property has a creek mouth and lakefront with 4 fish spawns, plenty of deer, coyote, red and gray fox, fisher, eagles, turkeys, ducks, blue heron, owls, osprey, geese, ducks. He said ducks twice, didn't he? Or did I say it twice? Turkey vultures, and even the occasional black bear. And this fall, a yearling moose. I've seen it all, especially riding horseback. You name it, I've seen it and can identify it, but have never seen anything like this. As close as I can come is the spotted hyena. Similar to this mysterious cryptid is another that seems to share some traits and could even be the same thing, or something at least related to it. This enigmatic beast hails from the remote, cold regions of the north, where native tribes in the Nahanni Valley of the Northwest Territories of Canada have long spoken of an enormous wolf-like beast that stalks the frozen wasteland and is called the wahila. The wahila is usually said to look very similar to a wolf, but much larger, more muscular, and heavily built, and with stronger, stockier legs that are longer in the front than in the back. Indeed, the wahila's body is said to be almost bear-like in its shape and massive in quality. And it's often described as having disproportionately large feet that are almost like snowshoes with widely spaced toes, a broader, more formidable head than a normal wolf, with smaller ears, and it sometimes is mentioned as having long white fur. At least one eyewitness sighting was described the beast as being like a wolf on steroids, and standing at around 3.5 feet at the shoulder, which is far larger than a typical wolf. Oh, look at that. What would you do? What would you do if you saw that? I mean, are you serious? Oh, God. That's absolutely terrifying. The legends surrounding this creature say that it is a solitary hunter rather than a pack animal, like wolves and most other canids, and that it has various supernatural powers. Interestingly, the Wahila's main territory of the Nahanni Valley is also known for its large amount of disappearances and deaths, with corpses found where here having a habit of being minus a head, leading to the rather ominous nickname, the Headless Valley. Some have even blamed these mysterious deaths on the presence of the Wahila, and indeed the valley is wreathed in dark legends of the numerous evil spirits said to inhabit it. The Wahila has also been reported from Alaska and northern Michigan and Ontario, Canada, as also has its own version of the Wahila called the Ontario White Wolf. A sighting of what sounds very much like the Wahila or Shunka is reported on the National Cryptid Society and concerns what seems to be some sort of massive hyena-like creature spotted in a rural area of Illinois along Route 37 between Johnston City, Illinois, and West Franklin in 2008. The witness says that he was driving along at about 11:30 at night when he had his encounter, of which he says, "Ahead of me, in the distance, I saw a deer cross the road in front of me. Just a short bit after, a very large creature crossed the road as if it was stalking it. Illinois Route 37 is a 2-lane highway, and this creature took up a lane and a half, starting at the edge of the road. It was hunkered down like a cat would stalk something, but this wasn't a cat. The front haunches were like a hyena's. I couldn't tell if it had a tail. It looked more dog-like. If I had to say something, it looked like I would have to say it reminded me of a werewolf, like on American Werewolf of London. God, I wonder if it's a dogman, though. That sounds more like a dogman. But that's what it reminded me of. After passing the point where they crossed the road, I turned around to see if I could see it again, but no luck. I did see the deer trying to hide in a yard behind a few trees, laying there shaking as if it was terrified or something. Oof, yeah, that'd be a hell of a fate. What are we dealing with here? Theories on what such creatures could be vary, but with one of the most popular ideas in cryptozoology being that it is not any sort of wolf at all, but rather a relic population of a prehistoric beast known as the bear dog. These imposing creatures were from the family Amphicyonidae, a group of animals that resembled a hybrid between a wolf and a bear, hence their common name. And they are thought to have died out in the new world around 2 million years ago, and in the old world around 10,000 years ago. It could also be that they are relic populations of the Borophaginae. I'm I'm just reading it, which were large hyena-like canids, often called bone-crushing dogs, or that they represent some form of American hyena. Other theories point to relic populations of dire wolves, Canis dirus, which were large, heavily built wolves that became extinct near the end of the Pleistocene epoch at around 125,000 years ago. I guess it's Pleistocene, sorry. Yet other theories speculate that these cryptids could be indicative of some sort of North American relative of the hyena or a new species of large canid altogether. More skeptical evaluations point to this all being merely exaggerated reports of known animals, sightings of aberrant or unusually colored specimens of coyote or wolf, or simply escaped exotic pets or zoo specimens. Whatever they are, they just add to the menagerie of mystery monsters that prowl the wilderness beyond our understanding. I think that's really interesting. Now, there is a lot of things that used to live in North America that allegedly no longer do. Because apparently, what the hell is it? What is it? I'm trying to remember the type of deer, but they're similar to an African type, like almost like a Thompson's gazelle, but they're not. But there's allegedly in North America there used to be like hyenas. Or not hyenas, sorry. God, I lost my train of thought. Cheetahs. There used to be some version of the cheetah that lived here, and its main prey was this animal. And I'm trying to think, what is that animal? And I'm going to look for it just quickly, if you don't mind. But ungulates in North America. God, I think it's, I don't know. Let me just get images up here and look quickly. I'm trying to think of which one it is. But it looks very similar to one in I don't know why I can't think of it. God, I hate when my brain does this. But at any rate, they were a very fast moving deer that's like in I think it's down in like Wyoming and such primarily. But I think it might be the pronghorn maybe it's the pronghorn. But they seem to have outlived their predator, which was primarily the cheetah, as I understand it. And I might be wrong. But, there used to be cheetahs here at some point, and maybe they didn't make it past the Ice Age or whatever. But that's pretty fascinating. So what if there were these hyena-like beasts that were here as well and managed to squeak through? They managed to squeak through the Ice Age, and maybe they're not really hugely established since the recede of the glaciers, but there's still a presence of them. And I don't know. This is all speculation, of course. But I find it incredibly interesting because, the face of every nation in the world changes over time. And that can mean that some species just fall off and maybe other ones come in. And we're still discovering those new ones. But it's just food for thought, ladies and gentlemen. Is this it? Yeah, I think it is a pronghorn. That looks similar to like a Thompson's gazelle, but I might be mistaken. At any rate, it's interesting to postulate and consider because, things change, whether you like it or not. How did we do on that one? Yeah, that's about perfect. I figured that article would bring us to about the halfway point, and it really did. So I don't know what you guys think. Let's take a look at the chat. What do you guys think of this hyena thing? Do you think there's stuff out there? You're correct. It's the pronghorn. Thank you, Olin. I thought so. Yeah. If you like scary stories that remind you of the mortal, then tune in to Brent Thomas on the Paranormal Portal. That's great, Buzzacino. I appreciate your spin. I appreciate that a bunch. My family moved to Florida 5 years ago, and it's amazing how many exotic species live there. Yeah, I think that it is pretty crazy, and I've seen weird things, even that I've never heard mentioned. Not on the big scale, but like one time in my house, I don't know what to think of this. If it was just some weird mutation of a normal thing, but my middle son, his name is Oliver, and he was freaked out by bugs. Always freaked out by bugs when he was little, and I'd just be like, "Oh, it's just nothing. It's just nothing." Well, one day he's in the house and he's like, "Oh my God, there's a big fly, or there's a big bug," and I'm like, Yeah. And I didn't even look because I was so used to just dismissing it and just going, oh, no, it's fine. They're just bugs. They're not going to hurt you. They're just doing their thing. Don't worry. He goes, yeah, but it's right in the window there. It's really big. And he was really squirming. He was really freaking out. And I was like, no, it's nothing. And I turned my head and go, oh my God, that thing is huge. And I've got photos of it, and I got to pull them up to show you guys. But essentially, and God is my witness, and I got photos to prove it. But this thing looked like a cross between a bumblebee and a housefly. That's all I can tell you. It's like it had a furry bumblebee body, huge, big as one of those really big bumblebees. But the head was a fly's head with those big bulbous eyes. It was the strangest damn thing I ever saw. I was like, oh my God. And so I was freaked out too. And I went and got the cup and stuff, and I trapped it and then took pictures of it. And then I was like, well, what do I do? I guess I got to let it go. Maybe, it's obviously alive, and who am I to say it belongs or doesn't? So I took it outside, and sure enough, the thing flew away, but it was a very slow flying thing. It was like, boom. But it was dragging a spider web that must have been in the window with some, those big colorful flies, the real shiny jewel looking ones. It was dragging those along like they were it's bling. I mean, that's how much bigger this thing was than these huge normal house flies. And And I was like, oh my God. So it's an aberration. I've never seen one since. I've looked up, I did many for a long time, kept looking at, insects and bugs and variations, and I've never seen it. But I do have photos of it. I didn't have a video, but it's just really creepy. Sounds pretty intriguing and gross. It really was. I mean, it really was. I don't know what to tell you, but it was just, I just figured he was just, blowing a gasket like he always did on bugs, and it was fine. I mean, I never tried to make him feel bad for it. I was just trying to calm him because, bugs are just doing their thing. But I turned and went, oh my God. It was freaky. I was not expecting that. But that's something I saw, and at least I took pictures. I'm just so glad I did, but I'll dig those up. I think they're on one of my laptops and show you guys what I'm talking about. I've got to do some photoshopping on because it's, there's personal information because I trapped it on top of a letter that I received, and I was like, oh, I don't want, share all that. But anyway, this is back in Minnesota when I lived there. So I'll share it with you when I find it. But at any rate, how do you guys feel about getting into some black-eyed kids? You like that idea? Are you sure? I got to tell you, I love doing the black-eyed kids stuff because of all the topics we discuss on the show, the one that I get the most emotional feedback on is the black-eyed kids. Those stories really disturb a lot of people. And granted, I can't say that they're absolutely real or not, but I can say that there's absolutely people that believe they're real, and there's absolutely people that claim they've seen them. And so far be it for me to say, no, that does not exist. This does, that doesn't. I keep an open mind to that stuff, even if I can't quite conceptualize it. But it's a strange phenomena for sure. But we're going to get into those now. So black-eyed kids creep me out. There you go, Taco. That's what I'm saying. And that's what I hear from most people. It's like, oh, God, those black-eyed kid stories are just amazing, but they're absolutely terrifying. It is, because it's really creepy to think that, they look like kids. Again, we are, I believe, a normal, decent person is just genetically programmed to help a kid. And what, if this is a real phenomena, what a brilliant predatory adaptation to make, to appear like something we want to help. I mean, that's just diabolical, right? I don't believe they're actually little kids at all. I think that, if they do exist, I think that's just their form. That's just the way they look. Now, what are they? I think they're supernatural of some kind, but I can't say that they're a physical thing, or I can't say they're a spiritual thing, because it could be a little of both. It could be something that can choose to be physical. Maybe they're jinn. Maybe they're some form of jinn, just screwing around with people, making trouble. I don't know. Now, I will say, with the black-eyed kids, just a caveat, disclaimer. There's only so many stories out there, and some of these are going to be redundant. We've probably covered many of these on other shows here and there. So I do apologize if there's redundancies, but there aren't a whole ton of black-eyed kids stories out there, at least that I've ever run across. But I'm going to share them with you anyway, because I don't know. I still get freaked out by the same stories because it's just horrible. Just horrible. So here we go, folks. This is coming from listverse.com. This is from 2016. Looks like June 15th of 2016. This was published. And it's 10 bizarre but chilling encounters with black-eyed children, not children's. All right. Sound like Chef on South Park. I guess that's okay. That's really, really big. But I guess we can all see it now. Let me blow this. Let me get back to this so I can see. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. From Listverse in their creepy section. I guess it was published October 31st, 2020. Maybe it was updated. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole setup of what black-eyed kids are. So the number 10, and there's a video as well, which we won't be sharing now, but it's the black-eyed girl of Cannock Chase, Staffordshire, England. September 2014, tabloid newspaper The Daily Star ran several full front page stories of a black-eyed girl who was terrorizing the area of Cannock Chase in Staffordshire, England. Lee Brickley, a paranormal investigator, examined the case and he claimed that a local woman had suddenly heard a terrifying scream in which she believed to be a child in danger. Well, she ran in search of the child, and after initially not seeing anyone, she noticed that a girl dressed in white stood behind her. She stated that the young girl had her hands over her eyes as if she was waiting for a birthday cake, and was silent. The woman, who also had her young daughter with her, asked the strange girl if she was okay, which seemed to prompt her to take her hands from her face and open her eyes. And that's when I saw they were completely black. No iris, no white, nothing. The witness told Brickley, "I jumped back and grabbed my daughter, and when I looked again, the child was gone. It was so strange." Brickley also told the media that his own aunt had witnessed this same girl over 30 years earlier in 1982. He stated that she had heard a young girl calling for help before seeing a girl dressed in white running away from her. Brickley's aunt caught up to her and placed a hand on her shoulder to see if she was okay. When the girl turned around, his aunt could see that her eyes were completely black, and the girl turned and continued to run before disappearing. In April 2015, a video taken from a drone flying over the fields of Cannock Chase appeared on YouTube, and in the background, some believe that the drone unintentionally caught a strange girl dressed in white and matching descriptions of the alleged black-eyed girl of Cannock Chase. Medium Christine Hamlet believes that she managed to capture a photograph of the spooky specter, and she also believes, in part to her gift, to connect with the other side, that the girl is the spirit of a child who died of diphtheria during the Victorian era. Those who do suffer from disease also suffer from a paralysis of the eyes, which makes them appear dark and sunken. Now, I don't know, is that actually a black-eyed kid, or is that just a ghost? Many ghost stories talk of, I looked at the eyes and they were just black pits. There was no whites or anything in their eyes. They're just like, they were empty or void or black, or, so could this just be a specter and not a black-eyed kid? I don't know. It could be. But then again, the black-eyed kids may not be a truly physical phenomenon. They just may manifest. But it's anybody's guess. Number 9, strange figures in a courtyard in France, 1974. According to David Weatherly's investigations, a strange encounter involving black-eyed children occurred in the small village of Aisne, or I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Aisne, France in 1974. My brother's watching these going, oh, God. The case was originally investigated by Joel Mesnard and Jean-Marie Bigorn, and involved 2 men named only Alan G. and Patrick V. I guess that would be Elaine, sorry. While leisurely driving around a small village, the 2 men stopped their car in front of a house while attempting to do a turn in the road. As they glanced into the property's courtyard, they saw 5 mysterious figures who appeared to be looking at them. The figures were around 1.3 meters, 4 feet tall, and were dressed in the same long garments. Their hair was long, seemingly right down to their waist, and the strangest thing by far, however, was their solid black eyes. The figure closest to the men's car gestured for them to come into the courtyard. Unnerved and frightened, the men sped away from the scene, and it is claimed that they returned later with more people with them, but there was no sign of the strange figures they had seen earlier that day. When investigators spoke to people in the area, one neighbor stated that he had also seen the strange figures, and he believed they were children, and he had seen them playing in the road. Yikes. Now, this one's a pretty famous one, if this is the same one indeed, and I believe it is. U.S. Marine receives a knock on his door. When based in Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, an unnamed U.S. Marine stated that in November 2009, he had a strange encounter with a black-eyed children near the barracks where he lived. The anonymous witness stated that he was alone in his room one evening watching a movie when a knock came at his door. Expecting it to be his roommate who had forgotten his key, the Marine opened it without hesitation. And when he did, though, he was presented with the sight of two small children standing outside. As soon as he saw them, the man stated he was filled with dread and had an impulse to just slam the door shut as fast as he could. That was before he realized that both children had jet black eyes. During his fear, the Marine asked the children what they wanted, to which they responded all the while staring straight at him that it was cold outside and they wanted to come inside and read. The Marine suddenly realized that no one else was within sight, and as the children took a step towards the room, he gave in to the impulse that was racing through him and shut the door quickly. The knocking continued for several minutes, in addition to a rattling from his window before the noises stopped and the children appeared to be gone. The Marine made some idle inquiries the following morning, but the few people who had been on site during his strange encounter stated they hadn't seen or heard anything strange. I think there was more to this story in another version that we've covered, but essentially this is a big guy, and I guess something around 6 foot plus and built like a brick house, and he said he was absolutely trembling and threatened them that they needed to go and get the hell out of there because he had that unnerving fear, that primal fear washed over him when he looked at them. And that's a real common thing with people, even before they see them. A lot of times people hear the knocks and immediately that fear takes over. It's like a sixth sense, some other sense kicking in going, no, this is bad. Don't get involved. Stay away. And whatever these things are, and if they are indeed, they're definitely not trying to be your friend, But that's crazy. The strange tale of Carrie Kisner, North Carolina. Those are big eyes. On her way home one afternoon from Wake Tech Community College in Raleigh, North Carolina, 20-year-old Carrie Kisner took a detour and stopped at the Triangle Town Center Mall. After visiting the mall, she made her way back to her car in the parking lot, and as she did so, she noticed a strange, almost sick-looking boy talking with an older lady. The boy looked pale with dark rings around his eyes, and he appeared to have a rigid and unnatural posture. The old lady appeared to be searching in her purse for something to give the young boy, whom Carrie estimated to be around 12 years old. Carrie suddenly became more acutely aware that there were very few people around, and the place seemed to take on an almost sinister feel. There's that sensation. She quickened her pace to reach her vehicle, but as she passed the pair, the young boy locked eyes with her, and Carrie couldn't help but stare back. The boy's eyes were completely black, like gaping holes in his head. She moved away quickly as she could, while the boy suddenly turned and walked away from the scene, not waiting to receive whatever the lady was searching for in her purse. Carrie stated that she had the strange impression that while she was staring at the child, he could read her mind and knew what she was thinking about him. Huh. Yeah, I guess. They seem to know. The other thing is, and this came up the other night, and on other stories as well, is that they really do seem to be tapped into whatever you're doing, even on the other side of a door that they couldn't possibly see. They know when somebody's there, even if you're creeping absolutely deathly quiet up to the door. It's like, I know you're there, let us in. That's got to be unnerving as hell. This was Black-Eyed Ghost caught on camera in London. We're not going to check this one out because, we can read about it, and I'll put a link in the chat with this article if anybody wants to check out the video that's included in this article. But let me just do this quick, because I don't want to re-air other shows on our show. I don't have their permission. There we go. So that's the link to the article in case anybody wants to check this out. But it says, although she was technically an adult when she was executed at the age of 21, in 1542, the childlike black-eyed alleged ghost of Catherine Howard is said to appear regularly at Hampton Court Palace, Recently, 45-year-old Trevor Tier managed to snap a photograph of the dark-eyed specter, kneeling in the gallery and seeming to peer over the railings. The story goes that after she was imprisoned at Hampton Court, Catherine momentarily escaped from her guards and took this route in a desperate search for King Henry VIII in order to beg for her life to be spared. Tyre, who worked as a coach driver and decided to take some pictures of the impressive building while he waited for his group to return from their sightseeing, said that when he took the picture, he couldn't see the black-eyed apparition. Only when he returned home did he and a friend notice the strange girl staring down at them, dressed in what appears to be a white gown. Whatever it is indeed, Catherine Howard, or an unknown black-eyed child, several staff members at Hampton Court Palace have stated that the figure has been seen by many people over the years. Yeah, those old castles are plenty haunted. Here's a woman lets the black-eyed children into her home. And this is one that's been shared. This is a pretty long version, so it might be okay, but let's read it first and see what they mention in this one, and I'll bring up anything that's missing. In January 2016, a report appeared on the internet said to have come from an unnamed woman who had not only encountered black-eyed children, but had made the mistake of allowing them into her home. According to the report, it was a decision that she believed would have lasting implications. The woman claimed to live, The woman claimed to live in Vermont and told of how in the middle of a blizzard one evening, around a year earlier, a loud knocking sounded at the front door of the house she shared with her husband. Thinking that someone had been in a motor accident due to the weather, the woman went to answer the door. A quick look out of the window revealed footprints in the snow leading up to the house, but there was no sign of a vehicle on the road. Now, a little unnerved, she awoke her husband as the banging on the door continued, and he went to answer it. 2 children stood on the doorstep, a boy and a girl, looking to be around 8 years old. The woman recalled that they were not dressed for the cold conditions outside, and that she felt instantly unnerved by their presence. Despite her probable better judgment, she invited the 2 children inside. As she ushered the 2 children into the living room, she noticed how her cats appeared to be afraid of the visitors, with one in particular hissing at them as they passed. She offered to make the pair a cup of cocoa to warm them up, and recalled that whatever she asked them, their reply was always the same: "Our parents will be here soon." She came into the room with the 2 cups of cocoa, and as they looked up at her to take the drinks, she noticed with horror that where their eyes should have been were 2 jet black balls like giant pupils. As she stared at them, they both suddenly asked if they could use the bathroom. She tried to remain calm and directed them to it. A moment later, her husband's nose began to bleed, and then the power suddenly went out. As the woman attempted to make her way to get her husband a tissue, she noticed both children standing at the end of the hall, motionless and staring at her. They suddenly broke the silence and said, "Our parents are here," before opening the front door and making their way back out into the night. Even stranger, as she went to close the door, she saw the children getting into a black car as 2 tall men, both dressed in suits, stood next to it. They too entered the vehicle and drove away. In the months following, the woman's husband was diagnosed with an aggressive form of skin cancer, and although she didn't go into specifics, stated that she also suddenly began to suffer from regular nosebleeds and described herself as being in the worst condition of her life. She is convinced that both her and her husband's ill health is connected to that snowy night when they allowed the 2 black-eyed children to enter their home. Good God. Yikes. That's terrifying. And that's pretty much a really good overview of that story. I mean, there's not a whole lot more to it that I've ever read, so they got it all. Harold meets the devil, Virginia, 1950. One of the earliest known accounts of black-eyed children dates back to 1950 in Virginia and concerns a 16-year-old boy known only as Harold. According to the story, which was researched and investigated by David Weatherly, the teenager was walking home one afternoon when he came across another boy leaning against a fence as if waiting for someone. Harold attempted to speak to him, but received no response. He was about to walk off and go on with his journey when the strange boy suddenly said to Harold, "I want to go to your house. You're going to walk me up to your house." It was then that Harold noticed the blackness of the boy's eyes. There was no white, just solid black. Then something even stranger and more chilling happened. Harold had begun to contemplate turning and running home as fast as he could when the boy blurted out, "Now don't you run away from me. You're going to walk me up to your house." Harold turned and ran anyway, faster than his legs had ever carried him before. He later recalled to his parents that as he did so, he heard a scream behind him, a scream that sounded very similar to that of a bobcat. Interestingly, his parents believed their son's account so much that his father was said to have grabbed his gun and immediately gone out looking for the menacing boy who had demanded his son take him to their family home. His mother apparently thought her son had an encounter with the devil himself and stated that she would take him up to see the local priest. Wow. The black-eyed children approach gas station in Louisiana. A strange tale of the black-eyed children encounter was broadcast on Darkness Radio in September 2015 and was said to have taken place in a gas station in northeast Louisiana. The encounter took place in November 2012. The gas station was a lonely building just off the highway and was the only service station for miles around. It was around 3 a.m., and the attendant was going about his normal duties when the power just suddenly went out, plunging them into darkness. Using his phone as a makeshift torch, the attendant made his way back to the backup gas generator and switched it on. The backup lighting came on, but only in the parking lot, and the hall to the register was lit up. The rest of the gas station remained enveloped in darkness. The area had experienced heavy winds that evening, so the attendant wasn't terribly uneasy, figuring that the bad weather was probably to blame for the power outage. And that was until he saw something moving at the edge of the darkness. He watched intently for several moments, eventually making out what looked to be 3 children riding bikes. Yeah, on a stormy night. That's got to be wrong. Almost as soon as he saw them, 2 leaped from their bikes and made their way over to the gas station. They stopped at the doorway and stood staring at the attendant. Now a little unsettled, but still not overly concerned, he made his way to the door and opened it, asking the 2 children if they were okay and stating it was late for such young kids to be roaming around near the highway. One of them, a young girl, asked if she could use his phone, and as he handed her his mobile phone, her eyes met his, and the attendant saw that they were solid black orbs. "No," the girl snapped, "I need the real one," motioning to use the landline phone in the gas station itself. At this point, fear finally overtook the attendant, and he pushed the door shut and locked it, in one move shouting as he did so that the girl should go home. The children stared at the attendant through the window for a moment longer before turning around, getting on their bikes, and riding off into the darkness. The following morning, the attendant told his boss of the ordeal and requested that he go through the security cameras. However, they had been off due to the power outage, so it is not known if the power was going out was connected to the alleged black-eyed children's arrival or if it was just a bizarre coincidence. Strange teenagers in Ohio. That's a creepy picture altogether. That's just creepy all by itself. A report from an Ohio man who was given the pseudonym Noetic told of the strange encounter in July 2010 with 2 black-eyed teenagers outside the data center where he worked. Noetic was taking a break during his night shifts and was smoking a cigarette outside the building at around 5 a.m. when he had noticed 2 teenage boys across the street from his building. He felt immediately unnerved as soon as he noticed them, perhaps because they appeared to be staring straight at him, but were otherwise motionless. Well, he quickly finished his cigarette and went back inside the building and back to work. Around 10 minutes later, however, the intercom from the front door buzzed, and as Noetic turned to observe the monitors, he could see that it was the two boys who had been staring him down earlier. He pressed the talk button and asked what they wanted, stating he was busy. Neither of the boys spoke, but one of them motioned to the camera for him to come outside. He pressed the talk button again and told them they would have to leave, and then went back to work. The two boys continued to stare into the camera as though they were looking through the TV monitor into the room where he worked. After another 10 minutes or so, Noetic decided to go to the front door and ask the boys to leave and let him get on with his job. Before he opened the door, however, he sneaked a look at the boys through the one-way glass. They looked normal enough, apart from the fact that they had completely black eyes. Well, this made him feel even more on edge. But he decided to open the door anyway and tell the boys to leave or he would have to call the police. As soon as he opened the door, one of the boys said to him as if he had been reading his mind, "That will not be necessary, sir. We simply need to use your phone. Can you let us in?" Noetic declined, saying that nobody was allowed in. The boys asked again to be invited into the building and then stood there staring at the now distressed man. Noetic pulled out his mobile phone, repeating his threat to call the police, and then pulled the door shut again. He went back to observe the pair from the safety of the monitor. One boy remained at the door and stared into the camera, while the other boy made his way to the back of the building and stared into the camera there. Noetic called the police, all the while watching his monitors. The boys made their way to a blind spot on the security's cameras, but when Noetic waited for them to reappear on one of his monitors, they seemed to have simply vanished. By the time the police did arrive at around 6 a.m., there was no sign of either of the two strange teenagers. And finally, number 1 on this list, nightly smoke turns into strange sighting from Massachusetts. One of Jim Still's daily pleasures was to step outside of his house and enjoy a cigar in the open air of the early evening. At some point during his nightly smokes, Stills began to notice a strange young boy walking along the street awkwardly. He saw the boy night after night, and for reasons he couldn't explain, he felt more and more uneasy with each passing evening, so much so that he gave up on his nightly pleasure and stayed indoors instead. He kept watch from the safety of his home on the young boy, who continued to appear each night, roaming the street with a stiff walk, sometimes remaining outside until the early hours of the morning. Time passed and Still's interest in the boy declined until he eventually forgot about the sightings altogether. Well, that changed one evening when he stepped outside of his front door to have a cigarette and stopped dead as he saw the boy standing directly in front of him. He stared at him with eyes that were completely black and lacked any type of emotion. The boy asked Stills in a matter-of-fact tone to let him inside of his home. The demand prompted Stills to rush back inside of the house and slam the door on the terrifying child. He began to keep a nightly watch again for the strange boy, and although he didn't see him again, he apparently never again dared to venture out from his home after dark. Yeah, I don't blame him. That is so creepy. And again, I do apologize if those are redundant to many of you. I know I've heard pretty much all of them before, but some of them I believe are more ghost stories than they are black-eyed kids encounters, but they could be one and the same. So it's hard to really differentiate that. But that's been that journey up until this point. Now, again, I have to load up tonight's Trail Cam Terror image for you guys, because this is one more that I'd found before, and we'll look at it now. So I hope you're ready. All right, folks, welcome to tonight's Night Terrors. And let me find tonight's image. I gotta remember what I called it. I saved several images about a week ago, and so I'll just call this one New Image, and put it up on the screen for you guys in just a second here. But where is it? There we go. Okay. Oh, you know what? I think I don't have one for tonight. Let's find one quick. That's my mistake, folks. We went through all three of the ones that I'd pulled up. Scary image caught on camera. It might not be as much as I thought. This, there's a lot of them that are like, let me just pull this up so you guys can see. Some of them are really creepy. This one's actually perfect because it looks exactly like we're talking about tonight. Let me just pull this one quick. This is actually brilliant. All right, this is actually brilliant. Perfectly timed for tonight's show. Let me back this up and then go into it again. Ta-da. It should be... Oy, oy, oy. It should be here. I got to find it now. Sorry, folks. This is a bit of bad planning on my part. Let me do this again. Cancel, and then pull it up again. Browse. Images. Dun, dun, dun. Why isn't it here? Where the hell did I just save that? Maybe I didn't save it in the right place, folks. Bear with me as I dig through this. What am I on? Oh, we're on that one. Okay, hold on. This one. Where is it? Save it. Save. Yeah, oh, that's what I did wrong. Sorry. I saved the link. Derp. My bad. Here we go. I'll just call it this. This is an image from one of the Ring doorbells, or one of the same types of doorbells. And I seen this quite a while ago, but it's really perfectly timed for tonight's show. So let me cancel this and then browse again, because it should be there. What the hell? Oh, here it is. There it is. Okay, perfect. Here we go, folks. This is tonight's image. And it's absolutely perfect for what we just read, because this is what somebody found on their Ring doorbell. That's a little big, but let me make it a bit smaller. There you go, folks. This is an actual image somebody claimed may very well be a black-eyed kid. I don't know what you think about that, but I think, yeah, you never know. You never know. Let me get that watermark off of there. But yeah, that's really creepy. It's really a black-eyed person that looks just like that. Again, not a whole lot of backstory. Just they got an alert on their doorbell at some time in the wee hours of the morning, and the image that came to their phone was this, and that's looking possibly dead in the eye of a black-eyed kid. And I don't know about you, but that's the last thing I want to see looking back at me. That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Big eyes. Yeah, you got it. And look at how far apart they are. That's what I think is really... And some people's eyes are set apart, and some people's are closer together, but those are definitely on the wider end, because they're like, all the way to the side of their face. So I don't know what you think about that, but it could just be the lens on that camera too that's kind of pushing it out like that. But they're definitely black. Is it an actual capture? Is it been doctored? Maybe. I can't speak to its authenticity too much, but I can tell you that if that's what I saw on the other side of my peephole or my camera, I wouldn't be answering that door. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is tonight's trail camera terrors. So I hope you enjoyed it all the same. All right, folks, that's the wrap up for the night. What does this say? If black-eyed kids are real, do you believe they are spiritual or aliens or cryptids? That's a great question, Android. I don't know. I don't know where to put them, because there are plenty of people that make claims that they just disappear. There's plenty of people that say one moment they're looking at them and they're standing on a porch door trying to knock on somebody's sliding glass door. They look away for just a second and look back, and the next moment they're standing on top of the roof of the building. And obviously that's a supernatural feat of physicality, but I don't know. Does that make them more spiritual than real? Does that make them possibly extraterrestrial? Maybe. I don't know. It's one of those really weird enigmas. Like, they kind of have their own category. I think that they perhaps are something, I don't know. They seem to me like they're more physical than they are spiritual. But what does that mean? I don't know. I think that they might be a strong basis. And believe me, I had this thought independently, but I noticed that other people have come up to this conclusion on their own. But I have a feeling that they are the basis of most of our modern vampire mythos. The whole knocking, needing to enter, need permission to enter. There's other stories of them being let in or having gained access, and how the people that were in the premises where they got in became horribly sick, and some went on to not survive, passing away because of what they believe is the result of that meeting. And so that would correspond to the vampire legend. After you're bit, these people that are bit in the night without really knowing it, they become very, very sick, and they're just on death's door. And that's kind of the turning point where if the vampire comes and bites them again, they'll be turned to a vampire, and if not, they'll just die. And so very creepy stuff. Yeah. So, Brent, do you think b.e.k.s may be vampiric in nature? Yeah, I personally do. And I think, again, that whatever they are, they seem to be the basis of what we understand in our Hollywoodized version of vampires. I think that's very, very much the case, that some of that legend bled through into what we understand to be vampires now, or the Hollywood version of vampires. But they kind of seem, and maybe they are the vampires of old. Maybe they are the Nosferatu that's of legends. They are the weird creatures of the night that were talked about in Romania and Transylvania and other places. I mean, there is, of course, the Vlad Tepes, who was Dracula. And obviously he wasn't really a vampire. He was just a very cruel man. But he wasn't supernatural by any means. But his legend bled into what we understand now, I think, to be the Black-Eyed Kids, and formed this whole idea of what became vampires. Now, I don't know. Other than that, I think they may be the Nosferatu. Maybe that's the ancient name that they were known by. Like we always end up with new names for things that have been around for a while. Like people talk about the rakes, and then there's the people that, that's just some, internet meme or thread that blew up and became an urban legend. But it does seem to coincide in many ways with the ghouls of ancient lore. And the ghouls were these wiry, decrepit creatures that would feast on corpses. They would dig up cemeteries and feast on the corpses under the ground. And that became, I think, what we understand rakes are now. I don't think it's a new phenomenon. I think it's just a new name. And I think the same thing for Black-Eyed Kids. Maybe that's the vampires. Maybe that's the true vampires. And we just got a new name for them, Black-Eyed Kids, because, that's what people are seeing. So, at any rate, that's my ideas. Take them or leave them. But I'm just spitballing as I go. But that's all I got for you guys tonight. Take care. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. And I'll be back with Dawn on Wednesday. And we'll tear into it all over again. So I hope you guys will join me, and stay tuned later for the podcast. The new podcast will be dropping in a few hours here. So I hope you'll stick around and check it out when it does. And that'll be available on Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, any number of other platforms, Castbox. There's so many of them, but check it out. You should do a show on ghouls. I don't know much about them. You know what? I really should. It's going to require a lot of research because I don't pretend to know a whole lot about them. But I will look into that. Thank you, Android. I appreciate that suggestion. Thanks for the overtime. Much love, brother. Thank you, Titan, and thank you all for being here, all of you that are here. And I hope you have a wonderful Monday and Tuesday, and I'll see you on Wednesday if you come back. So if you're new to the show, please get subscribed. Love to have you come back and ring the bell so you know when we're back. But we do live shows Wednesday through Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific time right here on YouTube. So we'd love to have you come back and spread the word. Let everybody know. Let everybody know. It's not a secret. The Paranormal Portal is the place to go. All right, guys. Love y'all. Have a great night. And I'm going to roll the credits.